Are you ready for a show that talks sports from the fans' point of view?
We've seen Michael Jordan score 37 points a game in his era. How many could he score in today's NBA?
There's not a player out there who I'd rather have than LeBron James.
Are you ready for a show that isn't afraid to challenge anyone when it comes to sports? If Adam Silver really wanted to fix tanking in the NBA, he would stop rewarding teams by giving them the best chance to win the draft lottery.
I mean, how many times will Roger Goodell drop the ball on handling domestic violence in the NFL?
Look, athletes have every right to talk politics, but if the fans stop tuning in, that's their right.
Then you're ready for Talk Back, a podcast where two fans debate the media narrative and discuss the world of sports as we see it.
Welcome to the show.
It's time for another edition of Talk Back. I'm one of your hosts, Eric Nesbit, and with me as always is your host and director of content, Justin Gay. We are fresh off of the Super Bowl. I think the Chiefs are at least coming down off of their hangover from drinking for 3 straight days, although I think Patrick Mahomes might still be pouring beer into his mouth. So we've got a crazy parade that's just finishing up in the great state of Missouri. And we're going to talk about Tom Brady. Is he actually going to be a Patriot come next year? Maybe our thoughts on whether this whole thing is posturing or if he maybe will be wearing a different uniform. Then we'll move it over to the NBA. The trade deadline just happened as we record here on Thursday night. This episode will drop on Friday. The trade deadline has happened, and there were some significant moves. Which teams got a lot better? And then we'll also have to talk about the NBA All-Star Game. Certainly, we're all still reeling, and especially the NBA players, very emotional about the death of Kobe Bryant and the others lost in that tragic helicopter crash. But were the changes to the All-Star Game in the way that they did them completely necessary? We'll hit that up as well. And then we'll close out episode 317 of Talk Back with a big blockbuster trade between the Red Sox and the Dodgers. We got all of that ahead right here on Talk Back.
We are back. It is Thursday night after the Super Bowl. We had to delay our taping because I think Eric was still recovering from the halftime show, as most of the middle-aged white men in America were. That was something else there. What'd you think of that to start the show here?
Well, I learned
You knew Shakira was part goat.
Yeah, that was something new to me. I got to tell you, I've learned that there's apparently some cultural meaning to that, although I still am confused. But between the Cuban dancing,
cultural meaning,
Latin dancing, the Arabic tongue lashing, I don't know what I experienced during that halftime show, but it's good to know that there is still pole dancing allowed during the halftime. So I wasn't in this crowd, but I think the one state was rooting for, obviously, the 49ers. The other state was rooting for the Chiefs, and the other 48 states were rooting for a wardrobe malfunction during these Super Bowls. So here we are a week later.
Yeah, definitely fun to watch that with a 5-year-old and try to gently explain that. That's one of those ask your mother type questions, or why don't we just go ahead and get ready for bed now and go brush your teeth?
Wait, what does her mother know about pole dancing? Maybe we have a bigger conversation here.
Thank God my wife doesn't listen to our show. Just a topic. I mean, I wanted to watch it. I didn't want to explain it. It's like people asking you, like, what's the yellow line on the Super Bowl? I don't want to take time to explain it. I want to watch the game. I want to try to enjoy the game. And, Eric, I think many Chiefs fans were not enjoying this game in the third quarter. Early in the fourth quarter, it looked ugly, down 20-10. Mahomes throws the pick. 49ers looked like they were about to take control of this game, win Super Bowl 54, and the wheels came off the bus. Patrick Mahomes got super hot in the fourth quarter, and they lit up the scoreboard as we've seen them do throughout the playoffs. So, Eric, there's kind of been two camps here. One camp giving Mahomes a lot of love. Another camp that has been very hard on Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo for the Niners fails there in the fourth quarter. So did the Chiefs win this game, or did the 49ers lose Super Bowl 54?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I'm not going to let Shanahan off the hook I heard a stat this week that Shanahan actually passed the ball, had a higher pass to run ratio in the fourth quarter of this Super Bowl than he did when he was calling the offensive plays for Atlanta when they lost the Super Bowl up 28-3 against the Patriots. And I was like, that's unbelievable, because if you didn't learn your lesson the first time, man, I can't help you the second time. Right. And so this is a situation to me where I think you have to put some of the blame right there. Now, with that being said, the Chiefs really impressed me. This is a team that was down big, double digits in all of their playoff games. So I think you have to give them credit as well for never giving up, never quitting. And some of that certainly starts with their leader, Patrick Mahomes. And what he did in the fourth quarter, although not for the first three quarters, what he did in the fourth quarter was very, very meaningful. I would have actually given the MVP to Damian Williams had they won without what Patrick did in the fourth quarter. But I think the leadership you saw from Mahomes and the stats he put up right there at the end of the game, and just that willingness and that drive to finish it off and make another comeback, I think that's what sealed the deal for them. So to me, Justin, I think it's a little bit of both. I think you have to give Mahomes credit. I think you have to give Andy Reid and the Chiefs credit for how they played, how they never gave up on that game, especially defensively. We'll break down maybe briefly a little bit of these things here and there. But to me, some of the blame has to go on that play calling in the fourth quarter with Shanahan.
I think the blame is getting put on Shanahan because he opened the door to allow this to fall apart, because they had the ball with a chance to close this thing out. They're already up 10. Even after Mahomes throws that interception late and looked like this game it could go down with Mahomes playing his worst game as a professional.
Right.
The 49ers just couldn't figure out a way. And it wasn't all on Shanahan or all on Garoppolo. I mean, you had penalties on that drive as well right after that. I mean, you're talking about Joe Staley, one of the staples of your offensive line, getting a penalty at the worst possible time when it takes a 3rd and 9 and makes it a 3rd and 14. And then you get Garoppolo scrambling. But I think, Eric, even the play calling throughout this game, you come off of the NFC Championship game where Mostert just ran all over the Packers for over 200 yards, 4 touchdowns, and it felt like he didn't get the ball at all in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's fair.
And he was going to be fresh. He only had 11 carries for total for the game. So why not pound the rock with him? Because what I had a problem with was you knew what the Chiefs were thinking. 49ers are going to run the football. We're going to put 8 in the box. We're going to do run blitzes. Eric, it opened the opportunity up for screen passes, for bootlegs, for some different type. And instead, Shanahan's having Garoppolo just do traditional dropbacks instead of using the Chiefs again against them. We talk about this whole analytical thing. Well, you know what the 49ers do really, really well, and that's run the football. So you could see that the Chiefs were just hell-bent on getting to Garoppolo, and they didn't do anything to sort of trick that. They didn't use that against him. I think, Eric, one screen pass, they could have probably easily picked up 20 or 25 yards because of how the Chiefs were just coming after the run. And they didn't do anything like that. They didn't get, I mean, one of the staples of the Shanahan offense, even back to Mike Shanahan in Denver, going back through from Elway to Greasy to Plummer, all those guys, even to Cutler, was the bootleg action. And they didn't do any of that in that fourth quarter with Garoppolo to sort of move the pocket, give him a throw or give him an opportunity to run or slide or stay in bounds and keep the clock going. It was just all traditional dropbacks. You're getting passes batted down. He's off target. He's getting hit. I felt like Shanahan opened the door to allow Mahomes to have this comeback. If they go down, Eric, and they have a 4, 5, 6 minute drive, even if they kick a field goal, they make it 13. If Mahomes drives them down and gets a touchdown, if the 49ers can somehow get another field goal, it's over because it's a 9-point game. The Chiefs wouldn't have had enough time to get 2 more scores. So I felt like Shanahan just mismanaging the situation, mismanaging the clock, not using Mostert nearly enough. Hell, Eric, even on the drive where it was 24-20, they're down. They give it to Mostert on the first play. He rips off 17 yards. They have all 3 timeouts. They still haven't hit the 2-minute warning, and they never gave him a chance to run the football again. When the Chiefs now are in more of a prevent style, playing softer coverage to not get beat over the top. And then they still don't do anything. They're just having Garoppolo just straight drop back and just throw it around. And he hasn't had to do that for 4 or 5 weeks now. So that's where I felt like Shanahan, some of the blame on him was understandable because he opened the door to the guy that you can't do that. It's just like in the NBA where you're talking about the great players. You can shut them down for only so long. But if you start letting them get hot, watching the ball go through the hoop, they're going to kill you. And that's exactly what Mahomes did to this team, Eric. As soon as they got that drive going, when he hit that 3rd and 15, the 44-yard pass to Tyreek Hill, the whole momentum of that game spun right there. And you could feel it not even being in the stadium. You just knew that once they got that touchdown to Kelsey, they were going to have a hard time being stopped at that point because it's just like the 49ers just uncorked them. And that offense that looked like it was stuck in the mud, Eric, looked like it was just going to take off. And that's exactly what it did.
The word that comes to my mind is panic because the 49er defense played really, really well, really for 3 quarters. And I realized that it was 10-10 at halftime. And so you have a really good football game, at least on paper. The scoreboard is knotted at 10-10. The defense for the 49ers really, although the score was tied, it felt like they were controlling that game. Nick Bosa was doing a phenomenal job. We mentioned how Patrick Mahomes really wasn't having a great game, and that was proof of the 49ers defense playing so well. Then they come out in the third quarter, put up 10-0 in the third. So they're up 20-10 in this ball game. I think your point about the clock management is so effective here because that is what we're talking about with Atlanta's situation a couple years ago. Poor Coleman has experienced both of these, by the way. And that's actually my point here with the clock and the running. And you talked about Mostert was, a couple carries, 58 total yards, and they had Coleman back. The guy is a beast. I mean, he separated his shoulder a couple of weeks ago. I didn't even think they were going to have him for the Super Bowl. He played. So you have weapons in the backfield, and they simply just didn't use them. And they didn't use that clock as their 12th man in this game. They simply panicked. And like you said, if they're just taking time off of the clock with running plays, which historically the Chiefs defense all year really can't hold up for 4 quarters against the run. So that was a weapon that the 49ers had with their depth at running back that they just didn't use correctly. And again, that goes on Shanahan. So you don't manage the clock correctly. You don't leave it running. You leave Mahomes with just too much time. And even when they score that first one, okay, you're still up 20-17. Stick with your game plan. Run the football. Continue to take time off the clock. And it's what I said. Their pass to run ratio was worse in this fourth quarter than it even was against the Patriots a couple years ago regarding, when I say they, I mean Shanahan and his offensive crew. To me, that blows my mind. And it's like the old line that George Bush tried to say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And it's shame on me for Kyle Shanahan. They panicked. They could have kept to the game plan. Honestly, even at 24-20, you still have a chance to go down and score again and make it 27-24, stay in the ball game. You're not out of it by any means. It's a 1-score ball game. Once they let them go and have that deep play, and it's, obviously then it's 31-20, the game is over at that point, but they were in this game the whole time, much longer than they thought they were. Panic is the word I keep coming back to with Shanahan. It's all panic. He just isn't ready in these big moments.
It certainly doesn't seem like he is. And now he's going to have that monkey on his back because he had a chance to sort of eradicate what happened when he was in Atlanta. And now he's made the situation worse because when they had the football, Eric, their last couple of drives, once they were up 20-10 and they got the interception, they had the ball 4 more times. They went 5 plays, 17 yards, 3 minutes and 4 seconds, 3 plays, 5 yards, 1:03, 7 plays, 27 yards, 1:19, and then 2 plays and the interception from Garoppolo.
Mm-hmm.
So they just were so ineffective at the worst time in this game. And whether Shanahan wants to run the ball or he wants to get a little bit creative, the whole point is if you continue to just get first downs and you continue to let the clock run, you are increasing your odds of winning. I don't know if there's an analytical chart that needs to say that or just common sense because you're just trying to drain the clock at that point. Even if it's that 3rd and 14, watch what Mike Vrabel did. keep the ball inbounds, go to punt it, take your penalty, and take another. Just try anything you can